Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. Today is Vav Tishrei, the yortzeit of the Rebbe's mother, the yortzeit of Rebbetzin Chana. We already discussed the last couple days of Rebbetzin Chana, how the Rebbe went to the hospital and what happened in the hospital, and then the Rebbe called Rabbonim as Shilas, and whether you should go to the mikveh on Yom Kippur, before Yom Kippur or not. It's all the shal. We already discussed it, and I don't want to speak about it today. I do want to mention that Hey Tishrei, a day before Rebbetzin Chana passed away, she passed away on Shabbos. A day before, she wrote, and I have here the Lashon Tova to Rabbi Mindel's mother-in-law, and she writes with her handwriting. This is probably the last thing she wrote. A whole bracha, she gives her a bracha. Arichas Yomim, Sheinesar Nemtsov. She lived a long time. She lived till 115. But on the Matzeva, she's buried right near Rebbetzin Chana, you can see. But on the Matzeva, it says 110, because the Rebbe said you shouldn't write more than 110. But Be'emes, she lived 115 years. So I just want to mention that this was the last Lashon Tova. So today I want to say the schus of Rebbetzin Chana. She had a big schus. The Rebbe began learning Pshutei Shel Mikra in her schus. So when she passed away, Tovshin Chav Hei, every Shabbos that year, the Rebbe learned Chumash and Rashi, Pshutei Shel Mikra. In her schus, this is the biggest schus that she can have. The shaila is, why Pshutei Shel Mikra? It's a new Gilui Oyer. Never in this world had the Rebbe learned a Rashi. But Pshutei Shel Mikra. Why? So I will begin with a Yechidus. 5 Kloisenberger Chassidim went to Yechidus to the Rebbe, representing the old Kloisenberger Rebbe. This was in 1980. One of the Chassidim was Rabbi Williger. Rabbi Williger, I knew him very well. The Rebbe said on Rabbi Yomin once that when he gives over something, he gives over exactly. You know, some speakers or people give over things, they puts a maise, they make things look good, but it's not always accurate. He is accurate, the Rebbe said. So he told to Rabbi Kutirap Olav Hasholem, the Yechidus, he told us to other people also. So I'm going to say over the Yechidus that they had with the Rebbe. Now, by the way, the Kloisenberger Rebbe passed away. He was nifter, I think, Tes Tammuz, 6 days after Gimel Tammuz. I mean, he went through a lot. He was in the Holocaust. He had 11 children. They killed his 11 children. They killed his wife. He got married in 49, and there's a letter from the Frierdiker Rebbe to his chassanet, which I will print it sometimes. But anyways, so this is a Samaymer Hamuzger, but this is how he was very close to the Rebbe, very close. But so the Rebbe began the Yechidus to the delegation, and the Rebbe said that when we start speaking, when people come at delegation, you first speak about Gashmius, then Ruchnius. As my father-in-law, the Rebbe says, that always used to start with Gashmius, then Ruchnius. And as a matter of fact, if you remember quite a few months ago, we had a few programs about Julia Stillman, the famous Yechidus that the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Ramash, the Rebbe was there, Rabbi Mendel, Julia Stillman, and Alexander Cowan. I think I spoke about it, and if you want, you can click back and look at it. There's some amazing Yechidus. And also there, the Frierdiker Rebbe began with Gashmius, something about the weather, but always started with Gashmius. So the Rebbe says, I will start with Gashmius. How is the Kloisenberger Rebbe feeling with Gashmius? So they said to the Rebbe that his physical health needs improvement. He gets medical treatments. He needs a bracha, and they explained to the Rebbe about his health. After that, the Rebbe said, I'm afraid to ask about his ruchnius. Then the delegation asked the Rebbe that the Kloisenberger Rebbe wants to know how the Rebbe is feeling, how his health is. So the Rebbe answered, and I'm going to read exactly what Rabbi Williger said. When my surroundings are good, I feel good. As my room is good, feel it good. Meaning that we could understand from that the life of a tzaddik is not his own personal life. It depends on the people. The way the Chassidim, the way the Yidden in the world are, that has an effect on the life of the Rebbe, on the Rebbe's health. Then the Rebbe said to them, I heard that the Kloisenberger Rebbe, that the Rebbe learns Chumash and Rashi in his public gathering. And I'm happy to hear this. The Kloisenberger Rebbe used to learn Chumash and Rashi. People came from all over for years already, every Thursday night. Chumash and Rashi for an hour and a half. So the Rebbe said he was happy. Why? So the Rebbe writes here, he says, Ich koch sich in them. I am enthusiastic about learning Chumash and Rashi. And I'm glad to hear that there's a Taneh HaMesayeh, a scholar that supports learning Chumash and Rashi. I'm happy that he's also doing it. And the Rebbe said, as I had complaints about my learning Chumash and Rashi in public. Now, I'll tell you what that means. That's what the Rebbe said. Okay, there are letters, and I have those letters, that people complain to the Rebbe in Tov Shechov Hey. I don't know, they did that. Rebbe Fabrings, this is like learning a class. The Rebbe was learning like in a class. Teacher, teaching children Rashi. And the Rebbe said, Ben Chomish Lemikro, asking klotz kashis. I mean, the Gilu Eir of the Rebbe explained the Rashi, but the beginning was shilas that Ben Chomish Lemikro can ask. So people says it's like a Rebbe teaching children. And by the way, I remember that when the Rebbe taught, the Rebbe had, let's say, 10 questions, 15 questions. The Rebbe stopped in the middle and he looked, and I think it was Rebbe Zalman Jaffe also. He says, "No, can you tell me the number of where I'm up to?" It's like teaching a class, so people complained. So the Rebbe was happy that the Kloisenberger Rebbe also teaches Chumash and Rashi. So the Rebbe asked him, can you tell me what's the reason that the Kloisenberger Rebbe started this minhag, this custom of Chumash and Rashi? So the delegation said, we don't know, but we'll ask, we'll go out, we'll ask the Kloisenberger Rebbe, and we'll answer you why. Then the Rebbe explained to them why he started to learn Chumash and Rashi. Pshuti shel mikro. So, and I'm going to read just a few lines what he wrote exactly. The Rebbe said like this. It says, Chodosh osur min ha-Torah. New wheat is prohibited by the Torah. It means new grain, which we are not permitted to use until we bring the Omer. It's osur min ha-Torah. It's osur. You're not allowed to. There's chodosh. Nowadays there's all some people have the chodosh, the Yoshana. I don't know if we have this minhag, but anyways, chodosh new before they bring the Omer, you're not supposed to use anything chodosh new. You can't. So the Rebbe says that the Chassam Sofer explains what does it mean chodosh osur min ha-Torah. Everything new, everything modern is possible, is no good. Is prohibited. New styles in this world is osur. A new philosophy, osur. New social communications, osur. All the modern Gashmius things that come out in this world is osur. A radio is osur. The internet is osur. Of course, there was no internet when the Rebbe spoke, but the same idea. It's a new thing. It's osur. Now listen what the Rebbe explains here. So the Rebbe explains, and I'll read you. When the negative forces, the le'umazeh, the world comes up with new modern styles and ideas and more, we need to counteract these new things which are prohibited with new things of Kedusha, with holiness. Meaning, I think, that's why the Rebbe constantly came out with new things, the only one in the world, with new miftzoim and all the time new, because to counteract the clip of the world, the Gashmius. And I think the Rebbe didn't say it, but I'm saying this myself. I remember by Fabringen, the Rebbe many times turned to Meir Rabbi Sarah. He was standing in the back of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe asked him like this. He says, "Fife, whistle." And he started to whistle. Everybody was whistling. People couldn't understand. A Rebbe should whistle? The Rebbe told him to whistle? But this is the same thing. Since there is whistling outside in the world, and we all know what that is, so we have to change it to counteract and whistle by a Fabringen. Same idea with the French song, to take the Lumazeh and change it to Kedusha. And then the Rebbe said, we need new ammunition to fight these new influences. As long as the forces of evil come up with new things, we also need to harness the power of holiness and come up with new things. And this is why I introduced learning pshat, pshute shel mikra. We'll say why dafke pshute. And I think, let's say, we spoke about the Vada Masifim. L'chur, I didn't understand. The Rebbe was so much into it. He went to the Oyel and he called Rabbi Mindel and Rabbi Chadakov. Maybe there's something in the world that had to be counteract the clip of the world that had to be done. A few weeks later, the Rebbe explained by Fabringen why he chose Pshute Shel Mikra B'Davke to counteract. Pshute Shel Mikra. So I'm just an akudah of that Fabringen. Today is a time, and a timely mitzvah, to bring Mashiach Tzidkenu to a final redemption. So we need to elevate the Golus from the very bottom, being the lowest in the four worlds. We are the lowest world. There are four worlds. There's Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiyo. Atzilus is the highest, Asiyo is the lowest. We are in Asiyo. We have to elevate in the Asiyo, in this world. The lowest of the four needs the greatest effort to elevate. Why? Shchinto begaluso. The Shchina is sunk in Golus. And we have to pick up from the bottom. Dafki in the lowest, in the Olam HaAsiyo. Through what? Through Olam HaPshat. In Torah, there's also four parts. There's Pshat, there's Remez, Drush, and Soid. Pshat is the lowest. Soid is Kabbalah, is the highest. We have to take to elevate through Pshat, through the lowest. Pshat is the lowest, which we have to elevate in the lowest world. And that's why the Rebbe says that I'm enthusiastic about learning this, because we have to elevate in the world, the lowest thing. And to who? Even to Anoshim Pshutim. Not very deep. A Ben Chomish Lemikra can understand. It's not Ish Poshut, Pshut Pashtus can understand that. And therefore, we need this to do it through Pshuti Shal Mikra Rasha. And that's what the Rebbe used the Rasha. The Rebbe said by Fabringen. And that says, the Rebbe said, Pshuti Shal Mikra Mevi Gula L'Olam HaAsiya. That brings redemption to the Olam HaAsiya, which is our world. And this is this chus, that because of the Rebbetzin Chana had this chus, that the Rebbe should be able to bring in this world the Gilu Oir, to overcome all the inyonim of the Olam Hazeh. Then the Rebbe continued the Yechidus. The Rebbe asked the delegation, when does the Kloisenberger Rebbe speak at Rosh Shabbos? Before Kriyas HaTorah or after Kriyas HaTorah? So they said, before Kriyas HaTorah. So the Rebbe said, Torah Shabiksav, which is reading the Torah, L'chura comes before Kriyas HaTorah, before Torah Shabbal Peh. So he's asking, why is he doing it before. So they said that they're going to ask the Rebbe and they're going to let the Rebbe know. So there's two questions. Number one, they have to let the Rebbe know about why he started, the Kloisenberger Rebbe started with Pshut Shel Mikro, with Chumash Rashi, I mean, and also why he speaks before Kriyas Torah. So the delegation didn't get back to the Rebbe for a while, so the Rebbe sent a message to Rabbi Williger to find out the answers. So Rabbi Williger, he felt bad that he didn't go right away to the Rebbe, but he said, I know the answers, I should have done it earlier. And he says like this, he wrote down, he says to the Rebbe, us, Kloisenberger Chassidim, are not like you Chabad Chassidim. You are soldiers. Whatever the Rebbe says, right away you do it b'zizus, immediately. We are not like that. So I knew the answer, but I'm sorry that I didn't come to you. So the Kloisenberger Rebbe answered why he speaks before Kriyas Torah. So he says that that's how his father did and his grandfather did. And he says that whenever he speaks a drosha before Kriyas Torah, he always says the whole pasuk. A pasuk first. Not a half a pasuk, the whole pasuk. To show that Torah Shel B'Ksav is before Torah Shel B'Peh. And the other question, he didn't answer, he said because of technical reasons, and he didn't answer that. So now we know why the Rebbe started Pshut Shel Mikro, and that's the schus of the Nishom of the Rebbetzin. And since it's now before Yom HaKodesh, before Yom Kippur, now it's that we have to take upon ourselves. First of all, Chumash Rashi we see is we'll be able to bring Mashiach. That's what we see what the Rebbe did. And Dafke in Olam HaSheket to counteract all these Gashmius Kinyonim. And here I just want to mention a last thing. And the Rebbe mentions in a letter, very interesting. Yom Kippur we stand all day. We're like Malachim, holy, Achaz Bashono. By Mincha before Ne'ilah, before the end, where the Eibishter already before the end of such a day, what do we read in Mincha? About Arayas. Why? Why don't we read it in the morning? B'dafke before Ne'ilah, before such a holy time. And why B'chlal do we read about Arayas on Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur we're like Malachim, we're the holiest people, and here the Torah is reminding you about Arayas. So the Rebbe answers a very interesting answer. The Rebbe says, a Yid stands Yom Kippur in Shul, and he davens and is holy. But he should know that in a few hours it's after Yom Kippur. You're going out tomorrow in this Gashmizdike world, in the world that there is Arayas, in such a Olam Asheker, Olam Choshakov Mechupal. So you have to know on Yom Kippur, today you take a holy, but you have to continue on tomorrow to remind you that this is, Yom Kippur is only Achaz Bashana once a year. So I want to wish everybody that everybody should have an easy fast, and the Eibishter should accept our tefillas, and from Yom Kippur we should dance into Chodesh, into Sukkot, Masib Chosenu, that we should have a Simcha Dike year, a year of Simchas, whatever we need Simchas, Begashmius, Uveruchnius, and it should be a Freilach year. Now, since I'm leaving for a couple of weeks, so I will not have my program the next couple of weeks, in Mirza Hashem, I hope that after Yontif, we will begin again Thursday night. A good Yontif. Thank you.